Well, welcome to Raise Recovery once again. So glad that you're with us. It's been a while. Been a lot going on here. A lot of very good things. One of the first things I want to mention is that this coming September I'll be getting married. So imagine that. From the streets, homeless, hopeless, and strung out. No one wanted me except for the other people that were like me, that were no good for me, to having an actual wedding with a very amazing woman, amazing family, and a woman who loves God, puts God first, like it should be. So that is my biggest blessing. But it's there's also another major blessing, which is that in September as well will be 3 years of the Recovery Matters group meeting in person, which is just tremendous. It's incredible that's passed already. So it's been going a little longer than 3 years, as some of you watching know. But we were doing it online over COVID is when it started. That was April of, I guess, I don't know, 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. And so it's technically over 3 years, almost three and a half, but three in person in this September. So right around the corner. It's a big celebration. It's a reason to celebrate because there's been a lot of people come in and out of the room, and they have their lives have just done 180s. And some of those people are now leaders. Because you have to get yourself straight for, like, you have to fill your own cup. When we're in active addiction, our cup is empty. And sometimes it's so bone dry that we're literally falling apart like dust. So we have to soak in new food, new nutrients, new hope, new healing, new ideas. All those things is we need that spiritual food. And once we soak up and retain enough of that, and our cup starts to become full and overflowing, now we have extra to pour into others. So, you know, some of us, myself personally, have a big heart and want to help people, always want to help people, even at the expense of your own, health or emotions. And that can be actually a problem. And it's usually rooted in like a fear of not being accepted, self-image issues, self-esteem, things of that nature, guilt, shame, is feelings of unworthiness, not good enough. And so once we become full and we shed all that garbage off it, some of us have been carrying around for decades and multiple decades. And so now we've kind of like experienced some serenity. We've come back into ourselves, like we've rediscovered who we are. We have a self-awareness of our mental, physical, and spiritual selves. Because I believe that we all exist on three planes of existence simultaneously: the mental, or the intellectual, the physical, and the spiritual planes. So, if I saw a really great example once, I don't have everything here in front of me to show you, but I think I can give you the gist. So let's pretend this is an empty cup. This is one of my favorite cups, by the way. And let's pretend this is a full cup. This is a water bottle. Okay, so what? And let's pretend this is you. So once your level of water gets to the top, and pretend there's no cap on here, pretend it's just a glass. And once this water gets to the top, and you keep being poured into and pouring into yourself, eventually this will overflow. And so it's going to overflow, and everything that overflows, we can then let flow into the second cup or another person or group of people. So that overflow will start to fill them up. And that is really how we should do it, because I've learned pouring into others. I've always tried my best to pour into others, even in my darkest. I haven't always been successful, depending on how bad off you are. You might not have anything to even desire to live, that it could be very low, but I would always try to pour into others as best as I could. And it would take a little piece of me away. So in early recovery, trying to do that, or being the one that saves someone, in rehabs, I've seen this all the time, especially like rehabs that have men and women. They usually keep them separated for obvious reasons, but there are some groups where they're together an hour or so or two out of the day. And I've seen a lot of guys be like, oh, she's, got such a sad story. She went through this, she went through that. And I want to save her and we're in love. And they get together and let's leave rehab and go start our lives and do what we want to do. And, it's like two flat tires can't roll, two dead batteries can't jumpstart a car, two empty tanks. There's no fuel in there, so you're not going to go anywhere. And I'm not saying that is a universal law and applies to every single person, but about 99% it does. But I have seen in my experience, out of thousands of people I've known in recovery, I don't know how many thousand, but quite a few that I've known and seen and observed, one of those kinds of relationships worked out, but they didn't run away from rehab or anything. They met in a program like Narcotics Anonymous, for example, and started to date. He was much further along in his recovery, and she was earlier on in her recovery, and they got together and they got married, and they're still together this day. And that's been going on, I don't know, 7-8 years now, probably, maybe even longer, maybe a decade or so. So it can happen, but I personally wouldn't suggest and recommend it. But I'm also not here to judge people's love and relationships. However, in early recovery, we see it a lot because there's codependency, and especially in early recovery. I mean, I was codependent. I felt like I needed someone else to make me feel good about me. And that's the essence of addiction, So I needed a drug to make me feel better, something outside of me to make me feel better inside. And so I looked for that in my relationship, someone outside of me to kind of affirm me and be with me. Like, oh, well, someone does like me and care about me and want to be with me. And so, but when they're sick as well and their cup's empty, well, they certainly can't pour into me, and I certainly can't pour into them. And so then it becomes more about the drugs and the using and arguments, and because we're both empty, and we don't have enough clean time or strength yet to abstain from drugs. So when one falls, usually they take the other person with them. One person gets mad at the other, they decide to go use, they come back all hyped up, and the other person says, well, if you're doing that, I might as well too, and it's just, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, and I've seen it happen where one or both of those people have died over and over. I've seen that. So, and in traditional recovery, they call that 13th stepping, where you're like taking on a new relationship, a new partner early on in your recovery, and that usually just doesn't end well 99% of the time. And but it's like when you're there, when you're the person doing it, it's like, well, these people just don't want to see me happy. What do they know? I can love whoever I want. We have all these thoughts that we rationalize, and people just care. Most people do. They just don't want to see you fall because, like me, they've seen it too. And some of these people that have been around way longer than me have seen it probably 10, 20-fold more than I have. And so, they give suggestions and say, hey, they'll pull you aside and say, hey, that's maybe not the wisest idea. You should really just focus on your recovery, become the best you can, and then present yourself to another person who has cleaned themselves up and put themselves together and worked on themselves. You become a whole person, and then you present yourself to another whole person. And you might say, well, how do I know I'm presenting myself to a whole person? Well, you once you get a period of sobriety, your self-awareness starts to come back and your intuition starts to come back. And you can decipher and reason and sense if this person is on, your level or not, because like attracts like. So energy never lies. So if I am a very positive, upbeat person, a very negative person anybody can spot that. But a very negative person, it's going to stand out even more so, and it's actually going to repel them because they're in this negative state, and typically it will repel them. I don't like to draw absolutes on every single thing, but some things there are. But so you're going to attract what you're in harmony with is the point I'm getting at. You will attract what you're in harmony with. So whenever I was using getting high, I was attracting those mates, those partners, those women that were doing the same thing. But I'll tell you what, since I've been clean, I haven't attracted a single person like that in my life, other than the people that I help, but not in any kind of, intimate relationship. The relationship I attracted now is a woman who's never used drugs, who actually can't stand that stuff. And she keeps me balanced, and she's cautious, she's wise, she's intelligent. She has a very, very humble, loving heart. She's nurturing and caring, where I'm more on the risk-taking side. I am very loving, caring, and things like that. But I'm more of like, how far can we push this? Let's go the whole way. And she's like, okay, let's tiptoe around and tiptoe across it. And I'm like, let's just run right through the muck of it, right in the middle, and just make a splash. And I'm on the other side. And she's still thinking about, the best way to which foot to put forward first. And you know what I mean? So it's a good balance for both of us, because any kind of relationship, you should complement each other and you should support each other's weaknesses and strengths. So if your partner has, issues with confrontation, and you are not afraid of confrontation, not saying we're seeking it, but when something confronts you, you face it head on. And then another person might be like, well, I want no parts of that. And so that's kind of how, you could balance each other out, is like maybe one's too confrontational, the other one runs from the slightest confrontation. And so over time, you balance each other out by sharing your ideas and your beliefs and views, perspectives, and reason, and just talking together. So, and this all ties into recovery. I mean, honestly, I didn't even expect to go down this path with this. I just wanted to kind of give an update on some things and give some value today for the people out there that may be going through this, or maybe have been clean for a while and are still having this pattern show up in their life. It's this codependent pattern, or picking the wrong mates, or being attracted to narcissistic people like I was, being a very good-hearted person with good intentions, and just wanting to show people love and trusting easily. And a person like that, narcissists will test you and see what they can get away with, and how they can use you and ultimately break and abuse you to the fullest until you end it, because they're not going to, as long as they're getting what they need from that relationship. And so I used to attract a lot of women like that. And I finally learned how to cut that off. I had to start making decisions for myself, even if it hurt the other person, because I knew it was best for me. But now there's a fine line there. I'm not saying I just do what's best for me, I don't care who I hurt. No, if I realize I'm dating someone who has these character traits or flaws, however you want to word it, and I keep going on and on and on with that, well, then that's on me, right? That's my own fault. So finding that, then saying, okay, no, this is not good for me. I'm sorry it's upsetting you and hurtful to you, but this is what I am doing for me. Because if I don't do this, I know from experience that it's going to end up hurting both of us way more than it hurts right now. So I'm walking away. And some people want to hold on because they love that control. They want to hold on to the manipulation and the control. That's what part of what narcissists do. So without any empathy or feeling or concern for how you feel, it's always about them and how they feel and what they can get and how they can use you to make themselves feel better. And we could talk about narcissistic personality disorder all day long, but let's just say I've dated a few of them, and it was very brutal. Honestly, it was mind blowing, because it's like they could cheat on you, and for a fact, you and they both know that they did that. And they will turn around and say, you cheat on me and you hurt me. How dare you? How dare you do that to me? You hurt me. You cheat on me. That's why I cheat on you. Meanwhile, you've just been coming home, going to work, coming home, doing chores, helping out, giving money, paying things, and doing nothing wrong but trying to love this person to the best of your ability. And they turn around and do something bad towards you, cheating, which is to me one of the worst, if not the worst thing. Like, it's a betrayal in a relationship. If there's someone you're with and you both agree you're together and they go and do that, that is an extreme betrayal, and that kills the trust. And then have the gall to turn around and say, you did that to me. You're a horrible person. How dare you? You should be ashamed of yourself. It's like, it starts to play mind games with you. It's a manipulation. It's to make them seem like the good person, make them feel better, and you're the one with the issues. And so I know there's a lot of you out there that probably have lived that, are living it, or understand what I'm saying at the very, very least. So it's very highly suggested no relationships in the first year of your recovery, because you already have so many major life changes going on. If you've been using any kind of substance for a period of time and you're getting clean, you're trying to quit, and you try to throw in like a move, a new job, a new relationship, having kids, all this other stuff, there's too many major life changes. It's like, if your circumstances and situation allow you to just focus on getting clean and sober, on your recovery, getting through withdrawal, things like that, coming into self-awareness and filling your cup, building yourself up, filling your cup, just like the illustration from earlier. Because then you can like venture into a new life change when you have a little bit more, stable, firm footing and grounding. Then say, okay, now I'll move, or now I'll think about pursuing that relationship with that person because I've gained some awareness and believe that I've found someone who is actually trustworthy and good for me and loyal, yada, yada. And they have the traits that you want. And because now that the judgment isn't clouded anymore because the substances are gone, now you can make a better call. You observe better. You have more clarity of mind, clarity of thinking, to understand and actually see what another person is. And like, again, energy never lies. So if you feel they might present themselves as good, but if you feel something's off about this person, always, always, always listen to that voice. Always. Because every time I didn't listen to that voice and I said, it'll be okay. I can change them, or we'll work on things, and I'll change, whatever the case, it's always ended up in failure. So, but with great lessons. So that's my advice there. And now sometimes we can't, maybe we don't have a choice about making one small life change at a time. For me, going into rehab, I was homeless. The last rehab, I was homeless. And so after my rehab and halfway house and then into a 3/4 house, those were a lot of life changes. So I'm changing my living environments. I'm changing the people I'm around. And all that stuff was amazing for me. It teaches you how to become very adaptable. I think drug addicts, especially in recovery, become some of the most adaptable people on the planet. And that's an asset. That is a great asset. So don't ever look at that as a bad thing or a burden. That's actually a skill set that you're developing that most people don't even know how to articulate. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of positive things about being an addict in recovery. You can take a lot of those things and transfer them to positive things in your life. That desire, that drive to get the result that you want, no matter what, nothing's standing in your way. When it's used for good, you're an unstoppable force. You're an absolutely unstoppable force. And so the next thing I would say is continue to grow, continue to be better, and make sure that the people you're around do the same. You don't want to keep the same company, because if you keep the same company, keep dating the same type of people, you're going to end up right back where you started from. They will drag you down. It might take a day, a week, a month, a year, but eventually they will drag you back down. And why would you want that anyway? Especially it's so hard to come out of addiction. I mean, at least for me and a lot of people I've talked to, it is one of the hardest things to do is to get clean sober, especially if you've been doing it for decades. I mean, some people never make it out. And that's something we need to realize. If we have made it out, we need to be grateful that we've made it out, because some people, they don't. I've been in rehabs with guys and about 70 years old and have all their lives they've been using, they've been on the streets. It's like, and you see, it's like they've lost the hope and they've lost their soul. It's like they're dead. They don't even care. They're just there. They're just there because it's somewhere safe to be. Uh, and they honestly, some of the men I've talked to like that, they don't believe that they're ever they won't get it. I'm just going to die this way. There's no hope for me, or I'm here because of court. And, there's so many reasons. Like, I don't even want to be here. And I'm 65 years old, still shooting dope in my arm and smoking crack, living under the bridge. But, I can't change, and that's, the older you get, the harder it is. And the more you relapse, the harder it is to get clean. So you think the first time was hard, and then you go back out, the second time's way harder. You might think, well, I could get through that again. That's all the stuff I used to think. That's why I'm saying it, because these are the thoughts I used to have about some of this stuff. So anyway, I hope this helped. And I hope that wherever you're at on your journey, you take some of this to heart and and apply it, because we can listen all day long. I could talk to them blue in the face and can't take another breath until the individual wants to change and wants to do something about it. Worse than they want to get high. That's the key. It has to be to the point where I can't stand this anymore. I it's either do or die, And so I want to be clean, because I just cannot take another millisecond of this life. And then I think you might be in a good place to start. Once you start to get honest with yourself, have some open-mindedness and some willingness. With those three, you're well on your way. So thanks for tuning in today. And I will see you guys on the next one.